A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Spectrum, live on Radio 1 FM 90. We are broadcasting from the Central Building here in the heart of our city, Kampala. We are live on our website, www.radio1fm90.com. You click on the icon with the word Listen Live. You can also find this radio station on the different radio listening apps, which you can obtain from the apps of your smartphone. You download, look for Radio 1 FM 90, and as long as you have an internet connection, you'll be able to listen to us from anywhere across this world. Do share with us your thoughts via the WhatsApp line 0703-090-0990. It could be a comment or questions, and the guests today in studio will be responding to them. My name is Kenneth Lukwago, and I'm hosting a panel of 3 people to share their thoughts on our topic today. We are simply looking at the parliament we deserve. Now today, the Parliament of Uganda, through the Office of the Clerk, began administering the oath to members of parliament which were elected during the elections which occurred in January this year. Tomorrow another batch will be sworn in, and another one will also follow on Friday. The process will end then, and then we'll be waiting for the first sitting. In the first sitting, the first agenda is electing the Speaker of Parliament, and we have seen, of course, the race heating up. We've seen the developments, including PLU, which is said to control a considerable number of members of parliament, withdrawing its earlier support to the incumbent speaker, that is Anita Among, and the deputy Thomas Taiwa. They are now saying that the candidate that President Yoweri Museveni was sworn in yesterday will point out is the one that they will support. And so many people are looking at the dynamics, including the involvement of Norbert Mao, was invited to attend Chankwanzi retreat, where President Yoweri Museveni sort of, kicked aside a narrative that the Central Executive Committee had already, sanctioned, had already approved the incumbents to remain in office. So the panel, Mr. Chemonges is Executive Director at Parliamentary Watch and the Center for Policy Analysis. Parliamentary Watch, they follow closely the happenings in Parliament. Good evening. It's a pleasure having you on Spectrum, Mr. Chemonges.
Thank you, Anderson. A very good evening to you. Good evening to the fellow colleagues in the studio and all our listeners. Thank you.
Mr. Kato Tumusiime, lawyer, also pundit on legal and governance matters. Earlier today, he was part of a team of 6 lawyers who petitioned the Inspectorate of Government. They are raising some issues to do with accountability and transparency about Parliament. We'll be hearing from him. Good evening. It's a pleasure having you on Spectrum.
Thank you, Anderson, for hosting me tonight. Good evening to the colleagues in the studios and the listeners.
Mr. Haruna Kanaabi, veteran journalist, also a pundit on governance and human rights matters. Good evening, veteran, senior Kanaabi. It's a pleasure having you on Spectrum.
Thank you very much, and happy to be here again with Mr. Chemonges, whom I follow closely. And let me take this opportunity to thank him for the wonderful work he's doing. And I don't know how the sovereignty bill will affect him, but it will be a disaster on the side of us who always seek information.
All right.
And my colleague here and also the listeners outside there, we are happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I want to begin with you, Mr. Haruna Kanaabi. Not for the sake of it, on the table here, you've been in Uganda for more days than us, going by the age bracket we are in. And I want to begin with you. Looking at Uganda where we are, you saw the elections that we went through, and the kind of parliament that we have had that has just ended, and the parliaments that were here before. The match talked about 6th parliament, 7th parliament, and the contributions they made. And a simple question I want to ask you, what kind of parliament do you think this country deserves?
Thank you very much, Anderson, and the listeners once again. But I also want to caution you, in this country where we are now, when you see somebody with gray hair, that currently does not mean wisdom anymore, because we are seeing more of that kind. but sometimes you wonder, and people even ask questions, and even the old man is doing certain things. But I don't think we need to ask ourselves that question, or the simple answer to that. By the time this new parliament is coming in, we are celebrating 31 years of our constitution. And Article 79 of our constitution laid down the type of parliament we need or we should have. And it talks about the functions of that parliament. And that is to pass laws that in any matter that is related to peace, security, good governance, and development of this country. They are the ones who are responsible for that. And when we talk of laws, we are talking about regulations that govern every institution in this country, whether public or private, including us. Because when I'm speaking over this radio, there are laws that govern me. How should I speak? What the responsibility that I carry when I have this? That is the role of Parliament, and that is the Parliament we expect. And then the interpretation of the laws, those are given to court, then the lawyers come in, then the Chemonges come in to tell us what this Parliament is doing and whatever. And again, they also exercise that function through what they call the sessional committees or sessional committees, standing committees, and the committee of the whole house. That's where they sit and make sure that the laws they are passing are clear and they are people-centered.
All right, and that's why I want to ask you.
Before you go away, I want also to tell our listeners that you are asking me the nature of Parliament. Parliament has what they call the vision. What do they want to achieve? And in their own website, they tell us that a transformed, independent, and people-centered. And their mission is to achieve improved accountability, representation, democracy, and good governance for better quality of life of all. I know Chemonges comes from Katakwi. So that Parliament has a responsibility to ensure better life of that man up there in the hills of not Katakwi, Sebei. Yes. As the water falls down, the quality of that life is a responsibility of the Parliament. So that is the kind of Parliament I expect. But the bigger question is it up to the demand and what is written in the books?
You tell us, in your assessment.
My assessment as of now, I'm not going to look at Parliament of Uganda in isolation. We look at what is happening in the world, where you have a big democracy called United States of America. And you have a president who wants to dodge their house to do his own things. You come down here, you see a superior person in terms of the law and protocol bowing before a subordinate. So what do you expect? Then you have a system where what is written, as I have read in the what?
In the Constitution.
In the Constitution, the mission, vision, the functions of legislation, including oversight, that now you cease to be an oversight institution and you become a carrier institution. We have just seen it with the sovereignty bill. If you took interest to read the committee's report and what transpired after, these are the same people who are, some of them are coming back into this Parliament. We saw what happened in Changwanzi, where the president said, I am also disappointed with you, but I don't want you to be corrupt. So let me corrupt you first by giving you 20 million shillings, but I will give you another 80 and some of these people are the ones coming back to
Would you
Parliament.
consider that corruption? Really?
If we
From
deal,
a man who has said there will be no sleep over corruption.
if we are to deal with the law, that's why I said, be cautious of old men now and women. When you see me, don't tell your listener that the man is old, he has seen a lot. Yes, we have seen a lot, but the way we act sometimes is different from what people expect us from. So, on paper, the functions of Parliament are very clear. Our expectations should be within those limits as laid down by the Constitution and other laws.
All right. Let's go to Councillor Tumusiime. Councillor Tumusiime, very quickly, you come in on the side of issues to do with integrity related to what you were involved in earlier today. But, of course, in the definition of the roles and aspirations of Parliament, Mr. Kanaabi talks about a number of issues, including integrity, transparency, and accountability. Let's begin from there. As a young person who has grown up seeing how Parliament works, what kind of Parliament do you envisage in line with your area of concern?
Well, my senior here, my colleagues, stopped on a big point about corruption and people and what happened in Chankwanzi. But to say that among the 10-point program, fighting corruption was one of them. That's what NRM envisaged. But let's go now to the issues of accountability, especially as one of the cores of this Parliament. Parliament, as one of the three arms of government, it carries a very big role, constitutional mandate of oversight. But for you to see that, well, there is a dirt in my eyes, you must have watched yourself in the mirror and cleaned yourself. That's why we come in to ask for accountability from the leaders themselves that sit in that Parliament, that have a role of carrying out an oversight, checks and balances and the rest. But when I was growing up, and for some time, I used to admire so many of the legislators and MPs because of the work they were doing, because of the performance at the floor of Parliament, because of how they treated themselves in society, in communities, how they related in terms of doing their work. But for some time, you reach a point and you're very disappointed to be told that this is also an MP. And you ask, which kind of an MP is this one? I have never seen him. That even expressing himself or herself in just a small meeting like this of about 10 people, it's hard, and they tell you this is an MP. But
it's you who elected these people.
No, the problem is that you generalize all of us. We have usually about 2 or 3 or 5 candidates that appear on a ballot to be elected as members of Parliament. The problem comes in that the majority, not considering what they have based on to elect this person, elect the one and the majority takes it. But that's not my area MP that I elected myself, because I followed the roles of an MP. Is this person actually able to deliver the constitutional mandate of an MP? Then that's what I vote. But because of the other majority that maybe were taken by other issues, personal friendship and whether they share the same area or what, they vote and they announce that person. Sometimes actually they cheat and announce the person who did not win. But you keep forcing that person on to us that he's our leader, he's my MP, which is not the case. I have already said at some functions that, but they have introduced you as my MP, but me, I did not vote you, therefore you don't represent my ideas.
But isn't that democracy? The will of the majority.
The will of the majority supersedes us, but the voices of the minority must be heard. And among the roles of the members of Parliament is that they should be coming back to the communities, ask our views about certain issues, and we tell them, because we are always on ground, we understand what we face. For example, like you said, in my legal career. But there is where I put a blame that people come to Parliament as a business now. It's a source of employment, and that's why you see when they are discussing issues that are relevant to the day-to-day life in this Uganda, The house is empty. And they are bringing a bill like a sovereignty bill, I don't know, the Computer Misuse Act, and talk about them. The house is full because they have only come one, like he said, they have been promised something that when you pass this bill, this is the package that.
So the house is transactional.
It's transactional in nature. That even the leaders of that parliament will not shy away to tell you that you do what I want you to do. That if an old man asks me to pass this law, my role is to mobilize. How I do it, I don't care. And she has, as a speaker, she has based her work as a speaker on terms of transactions. How much does she give out? That the donations she has made for these 5 years really would have been put into something very good in terms of social services, in infrastructure development, and actually creating a sensitization. I was reading that they passed over 400 and something bills this time.
They passed so many bills.
Yeah, but how many know
more
about
than any house before?
That the money you donate to things that are even useless to a day-to-day person, a lay man, the border man, a market vendor in town here, even in the village, you would have used it to sensitize and educate these people about the importance of these bills, about the content of these bills. So, because this is raw.
There's an
So
argument
that you avoid.
There's an argument that money is always budgeted for. It's part and parcel of the
Even
budget.
if it is budgeted, but that's why we are saying that it is a waste budget. That you will come to parliament, you legislate and pass laws. Those laws will govern me and him and somebody who has not had an opportunity to even read about it. Instead of using that little part of the budget, or fix it in the budget, because parliament is the one that makes budgets, it allocates. Get a portion of money, sensitize the people, educate them about the laws that you have passed. For example, that you reach a point and you ask an MP, but the other day they passed this bill, can you share with me? And says, when was that? And that's how funny it is.
All right. I'm going to get back to you to dig deep on the issues of transparency and accountability. Yeah. But let's first go to Mr. Chemonges. Mr. Chemonges, your organization follows closely what happens in Parliament on a daily basis. And surely we have had a lot of issues to do with Parliament, this particular Parliament whose tenure has come to an end. The most important thing would be that the people who are being sworn in today should be able to take lessons from what happened in the previous Parliament, so that in a sensible way try to avoid a repeat of such, because the image of the House has been under the spotlight.
That's right.
Do you think they have learned this lesson as they take their oath to become leaders?
I don't think so. I think that today's Parliament is a bit inconsequential, given the fact that there seems to be a trend that has been set, and the 11th Parliament set it a bit higher, that its accommodation of the executive influence on the matters of Parliament has greatly entrenched. And therefore, what you would call the independence of Parliament, or the ability for them to objectively steer the country, has been compromised. And what you're asking, Senior Haruna, about the kind of the country we want, I think it's the
kind of Parliament
the kind of
we
Parliament
deserve.
So, because the Constitution and the legal framework has already said that. So that is not in debate. That is already a settled matter. I think that the question is as to whether the kind of Parliament that has been put in place has the capacity to match what the Constitution has been set. But for me, I think that the environment in which the Parliament operates today, the manner in which the leaders of these institutions are brought in place, greatly undermines their ability to steer effectively. So we are currently seeing the PLU making statements, withdrawing support, the chairman of NRM in the same breath saying, let's wait and see, we shall discuss this from there. You see the current the current leadership seems to be also in a way hanging, and they are busy lobbying And you see a lot of activity going on in the background in terms of trying to lobby, in terms of trying sometimes to compromise and even dish out money in the hope that they are able to be elected for these positions. What that means is that it removes the moral authority and the capacity of most of the would-be leaders of these institutions to steer effectively. And to that end, if you have different circles trying to push, trying to compromise, it undermines how Parliament moves. And I'll tell you that if you've seen parliaments, it is a summary of the leadership it has, both for the work and for the visibility perspective. Because I think that Parliament must not only do work, but it must be seen to be doing work. And it must be seen to be serving the interest of the people. As it is today, Parliament has fallen short of the public's expectation. It has fallen extremely short on the expectation of the law. And the number one role of Parliament is to protect and defend the Constitution. That is their primary mandate. And they can then they can come and take on the other roles of legislating and what have you. And I think that on all those fronts, as the 12th Parliament comes in, for me, my expectation would be, one, I hope as they prepare to elect their leaders, sanity is able to prevail. The kind of leader they choose will determine the direction they take, and it will determine as to whether they raise the bar or take it further.
We already know the people who are interested.
Absolutely. But I think that we will see those that will express interest. But nonetheless, I think that members of Parliament, they have the opportunity to determine who will be their leader.
Regardless of who has already come out.
Yes, I think there is still an opportunity.
You expect more to come out?
Absolutely. It is. If you look at...
express interest.
If you look at the rules, it clearly provides that all members of Parliament really qualify to express interest. And to this end, at least all members of Parliament who will have been sworn in will be qualifying to be Speaker. And so we hope that more and serious candidates can present themselves. It's an opportunity, and it's good you present yourself and fail. As they move, I think for me, one will be to engage to interest members of Parliament to take interest in understanding the dynamics around Parliament, because we've seen it's getting towards the 11th. When the 11th Parliament was ending, the Sovereignty Bill was brought. Members of Parliament had not read the bill. They are not interested in themselves in understanding what was going on. At the caucus, they passed it. They approved it to go ahead. During the Chankwazi meeting, it is only later when people, different circles and different stakeholders were raising concern is when they would say, wait, what is this? Even when the matter was brought on the House, they are not taken interest. And so I think for me, members of Parliament must understand the expectations on which each of them is as the responsibility that has been bestowed on them. All right.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. We're going to go for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue digging deeper. Even the rest of the speakership that you've talked about, we'll look at it briefly. What are some of the dynamics that are likely to determine who finally becomes, the speaker? Is it possible for the NRM actually to change that lineup? Because it is in their culture. It is a precedent that has already been set that speakers always serve 2 terms.
Yes.
Why is it likely to change now? What are the dynamics? Stay tuned, Radio 1 FM 90 will continue after this break. We're glad that you're still with us on Spectrum Live on Radio 1 FM 90. Today we're asking a simple question. What kind of parliament do we deserve? And this is in line with the fact that we have begun swearing in members of parliament who are going to serve us in the 12th parliament. So I have a panel of 3 people here to share their quick thoughts on it. Mr. Chemonges is Executive Director at Parliamentary Watch and at the Center for Policy Analysis. Also in studio, I have a lawyer, Kato, who is also a pundit on governance and human rights issues, and a veteran journalist, Haruna, who is also a pundit on governance and human rights issues. And I want to come to you, Mr. Haruna, very quickly. on the speakership race, like Mr. Chemonges says, the MPs who are coming in must be very careful about the choice of leaders they make, because at the end of the day, it will reflect on the kind of the house that we are likely to have. And we already know the people who are aspiring to lead this house. Includes the incumbents, Anita Among, Right Honorable, and Right Honorable Thomas Tayewa. We know Norbert Mao is there. We know people are coming in from NRM, Lydia Wanyoto, and many other people, including Minister Persis Namuganza Princess, and others who are interested in this particular position.
Dodu also has interest.
Now,
express interest.
Let's look at those dynamics. First, we know NRM as a precedent that the speakers serve for 2 terms. That's what we know originally. That's what we've been told. But we've been seeing dynamics here and there. Some people suggesting that this is likely to change. But let's hear your quick thoughts on this. What do you think is going on?
You see, one, we need also to know that culture is not static. And this culture we are talking about is set by someone who today chooses that, this is the culture. And you have to look at also the trajectory right from 1995 when we promulgated this constitution. And along the way, within the constitution, these lawyers will help us. The culture has been changing through amending and also making sure that some provisions are whatever along the way, the culture of also the respect of the rule of law. So I'm not so much into that, there has been this culture, a precedent has been set. Precedents can be set, precedents can be removed. So for that one, let's wait for that whatever. Then we need also to look at the confusion that is being created. And to me, which is also deliberate. That, for example, I would have expected the National Resistance Movement, which has the majority, to take lead in this and guide its members. Now you hear patriotic, what? PLOU? Patriotic League Uganda. Also endorsing and disendorsing. Then you ask yourself, in this structure of the parliament, where are they? Do we have a member of parliament who subscribed to PLU as a member of parliament, that he entered parliament on the ticket of PLU?
It's not even a political party.
Then now you start hearing voices that it was our term. It was never completed. Is that also another culture we have to look at? Because Olanya was from northern Uganda, therefore the people from northern Uganda need to do what? To continue. Because the other one died before his Kisanja ended. That is also another one culture of a precedent maybe was set. Then you look at also other factors where individuals, without even the endorsement of the party sometimes, they also feel that, I qualify. They are within the party, but they're also saying, I qualify for this post. So all those are things we need. There is a lot of confusion. And in this confusion, it is very difficult now, and we as media, especially you Andersons who report parliament, to keep an eye, because you're also going to get confused by this confusion, and you can't know what is what, which is coming, wait, and only all of a sudden to get a surprise that there was this quiet person we didn't even expect, he never spoke.
Never aspired.
But then he becomes what?
The speaker.
Because we have seen it also in the past elections where the losers become winners and then they are also surprised. So there is a lot of confusion, which at the end of the day is not good for the country. Because the post of speakership carries a lot of weight. it carries a lot of responsibility. But if you are to bring in people who are also going to undermine the institution itself, we talked about the last parliament. Some 2 years I was doing research about the same institution. But I was surprised to go to the library where I expect that information that is before parliament, and these are reports that they are supposed to be in the library and they can be accessed provided you follow the what?
The procedure.
But I was told that some of the reports you have to go to the speaker directly
and ask for them.
So I was like, when did this begin? And said, for example, the Auditor General's reports, if you want to know more, you have to go to the speaker of the who heads the institution. So these are some of the challenges now we are facing.
All right.
And in this confusion, let's keep watch. Parliamentary watch is here, and we just expect whatever comes out of that confusion, and then now we start thinking of how do we manage the outcomes of the confusion.
All right, let's go to Mr. Kato. Kato, very quickly, your quick thoughts on the race for speakership. It's hotting up, and like Mr. Haruna stated, we are seeing people who had previously endorsed now saying they are withdrawing, but like he said, there could be surprises amidst all this confusion, what he describes as confusion. But what are your quick thoughts?
I share the same thoughts, and I thank you for bringing it out that now where we are, the leadership in this country, actually, not only speakership, has power centers. That is where you have to go for you to become somebody at whatever position. That a civic organization, PLU, now stands and endorses somebody, and that somebody is very comfortable, and when it comes to withdraw, then panic hits the whole country as if there is something that has happened. But that's how funny it is that you have seen different people that are interested in contesting for this seat go to Guru to take that tea, and the debate starts there. That's how dangerous we have taken this country and its leadership too. But a speaker and a deputy speaker are very, very important people in this country. They carry a lot of weight on their shoulders, and in the sense of a home, they are the fathers and the mothers of the house, which means that they have to guide the rest of the children and the other people under that household on how to behave well, how to live well, how to come up with a life in whatever they do. But looking at what has transpired in this, for example, last parliament, I have not seen a number of MPs, ministers being arrested for simple things like stealing iron sheets that belong to the Karachunas. Not apart from the 11th parliament. At least Haruna will be my witness here. If he has known that an MP and a minister has been ever arrested because of stealing iron sheets that have been and look at how much they earn.
There was one was prosecuted.
Yes, they were prosecuted, but that's a surprise that I'm talking about. That all that becomes a problem and a habit because maybe they are copying from the leaders who have not looked and maybe prepared and disciplined their members. Like a father fails to prevail and control the family, then that's when you will have people, young children, start to misbehave and even slap visitors when they come. This is what I'm talking about. The surprise that we shall have in this election, and it might even go beyond having somebody come into the leadership as a speaker and a deputy speaker, but we might see the first speaker being prosecuted for issues related to corruption. Parliamentary Watch and many other organizations have been bringing out details of how money has been spent from Parliament without any explanations. Even people that you don't know as people that are entitled to be receiving travel allowances from the budget of Parliament. But all that starts with the misbehavior of people that as we look at Parliament now, it is not independent, but they have to get orders from somebody. And where you start to misbehave and you want to be bigger than the big bull in the crowd, then the owner has no choice but to sell you off and then start to groom somebody new.
All right. Let's go to Mr. Chemonges. Mr. Chemonges, very quickly, we hear your thoughts on the race for the speakership, the dynamics, the things that are going on, things we did not expect, but we are now seeing them at the fore, and how they are likely to impact on that particular race.
I think for me, the first is that when I look at the great interest by the different circles, both formal and informal, it worries me, partly because of the ability of these forces' interest to either undermine or influence how things go in Parliament. And many times it is towards the interest of these circles. And so it becomes a give and take or a trade-off that you have a speaker who, because of he or she received support from a different circle, then they have to, tweak some of the decisions, some of the resources towards those group of people. But in terms of the speaker position, I agree again with what Kato says. I think we are likely to see for the first time a speaker who will be arrested on matters corruption. I think that's a.
Are you sure? That's a red herring.
That's a projection that I'm making. Yeah,
okay.
And it's also my prayer.
All right.
Yes.
Your prayer and wish.
My prayer and wish.
And prayer.
that happens. But also, I think that the kind of speaker that the 12th Parliament is likely to have, I think it's not among the front runners as we see today. My projection and my anticipation is that we are likely to have a speaker of the 12th Parliament who is not among those that have so far expressed interest, and most likely has been in the leadership of the House.
Has been in the leadership of the House. You're speaking about the deputy speaker?
He's a very considerable candidate, and I hope that he's one of those that I'm thinking.
But he's not aspiring, he has not come out.
And that's what I'm saying, that the possibility of having a speaker who has not yet expressed interest is very likely.
All right. Let's now go to some of the comments that are coming in from the listeners. We have quite many already, but I'll read them out and then you can respond to them. Somebody writes in and says, this is the question which has puzzled me. I wanted to ask you, the people you host, do they pay them money monthly or they get the money when they do it? Somebody, what? He thinks we are actually paying you people. Let me inform you, dear listener, that these people are contributing to the growth of this country by sharing their knowledge here freely, so nobody is paid to be in this.
But we will be happy if he can also send in something.
Maybe he wants to say something, we don't know. David Lassina said, let Haruna Kanaabi tell us what happened to his newsletter Sharia that he used to critique the governance operations of NRM. Well, that's another issue there. The real puppet masters are the high priest seated in Gulu, the PLE chief. No one will access any sensitive office without their blessing, and that includes AAA. The next 5 years, as Museveni approaches the power exit door, are going to be interesting. That's Ham listening in from Entebbe. I agree with you indeed. It's a business. It's a business. I look at how sovereignty bill covered the building. The sovereignty bill covered the Building Act, which affected everyone, especially the voiceless. But because the other one had some money shake-up, everybody stood up to work. That's Derek listening in from Mbale. Now, good evening, Anderson. Thanks for the show. Our current members of Parliament are just a bunch of fellows who invested their money to buy their way into Parliament to serve their interests as they reap, other than serving the interests of the people. That's John listening in from Kampala. And then we have another one here. Uganda deserves a better parliament and not the so-called clowns. Therefore, the leader should be presentable, articulate, eloquent, and respectful. All the best for the one with those minimum desirables. That's Kasango there with that particular comment. Well, that's a feedback that we are getting in from the listeners. Very quickly, I want to begin with you, Haruna. Looking forward and basing on the comments that we have received from the listener, but also what you have heard from the different communities you have interacted with Parliament. So what exactly do we need? Sometimes we are told it's we, the voters, who decide the kind of leaders we send to Parliament. Before you know it, you will hear about people who are suffering because of debts, left, right, and center, and so many other things that will come across. You will hear about corruption, all this kind of thing. They will tell you it's a reflection of the society where these MPs come from.
I want to be like Kakuru, Kato Kakuru. I think it's the same name. Kakuru is Waswa.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, sometimes we abandoned altogether in one what?
In one room.
In one basket, and say it's a reflection of what you are. But let's look at also at the electoral process that gives us what we are talking about. Right from the nomination process, the campaign, and then at the end of it. Because the people we are talking about is a product of what we went through. So we need, first of all, to question the process that gives us this. Is it a right process?
Yeah.
Does it give us the chance and the opportunity to send the people we need there? If it doesn't, then are we responsible for those people? Because if we look at the number of MPs and we go back and scrutinize how they were grown, the type of soil that grew them in their constituencies to where they are now, and we are looking at them as fruits that have the ripened fruits where we have to feed from, that we expect laws and whatever. Did the process give us the right fruits? If it doesn't, then what do we need to do? We have had, let me take the example of the speaker herself. When you look at the process that brought her back into that house, can you tell me that it was a proper process? Then you go on adding on one by one. You buy off all your opponents, you block others. You are not talking about competition, but the framework says you must compete. And the people must be free to elect. And if it is the choice of the people, then it means that you are empowered. So if it is not, you are not a choice of the people, it means that when you go there, you can transact. And we cannot call you back and say, by the way, it is we who empowered you. You will even ask, at what time did you? So you know where the power lies. So you try to serve that power. And I want to tell you, Anderson, and the listeners, that some of these people, they have served very well those power centers Chemonges talked about and Kato, that which enabled them to be where they are.
All right.
So that is the challenge Ugandans need to look at.
All right.
And then we as a media, Mr. Anderson, the man said your chariot. Yes, it folded because of the challenges that it faced. But we need also to be very curious. I know we are also operating under strict conditions, environment, but on top of that, we have also been heavily compromised. To the extent that those who refuse to be compromised, you are part of Uganda Parliamentary Press Association, you know what happened to your colleagues. Denied accreditation. Not that they were not serving their bosses well and the community, but because they were trying to do their job at that institution.
All right. Very quickly, let's go to Mr. Kato. Mr. Kato, is it a problem of we, the voters? Very quickly, because they will tell us the parliament is a reflection of the community where these voters come from. Very quickly, in a few minutes.
No, I don't think it is a reflection of us. It is a problem of us, the voters. Like I will repeat it again, that the people that are representing me from my constituency, I did not vote for them because I believe they had nothing to offer in terms of their roles in parliament. So they shouldn't abandon me as a reflection of what my parliament is doing, my member of parliament is doing in this house. Two, you can imagine that a qualified MP who is going to make for you registrations that will run until you challenge them successfully in the courts that have also died a natural death because of the delayed justice that we are seeing each and every day. That everything now, you see, we are talking about the speakership race, but before you know it, the first 2 items or 2 bills to be passed will be that never come on any radio station to talk about the speaker. That law can pass, because when in 2021, when the 11th Parliament started, one of the first bills was to pass the amendment of the Computer Misuse Act, because the people had taken the leaders on social media asking for accountability. We are here. At least Uganda cannot surprise you. But to say that a person who is interested in making a law for good governance, for peace, for development in this country, goes to even vote a speaker, and then you find an invalid ballot, you can imagine, and that somebody is the one who is going to represent you. But to say, we are looking at the representation in parliament, but look about the principle of separation of powers that is lacking in this parliament.
All right.
You are supposed to check the executive, but you have over 80 people sitting there, and you are all doing the same checking.
The executive is checking.
Okay, the executive is checking itself. That you look at a point, and the clear word that I can use to explain how our parliament is. Our parliament is like a castrated bull. It has everything of a man and a bull, but it has nothing to use it for.
All right.
From standing and...
Mr. Chemonges, you love the final word. This castrated bull that Kato is talking about.
And there are very many where Chemonges comes from. So he knows them very well.
Is it a reflection of the many crowds that we have in this country? Probably, we are the ones who choose these people.
Yeah.
Very quickly, as we come to the end of this show.
Thank you. And I think that the parliament is supposed to be a representative institution. But what we've seen in the primaries, what we see in the electoral process, because of the tainted process, because of the question around resourcing and many of these other things, many times it is not a true reflection of what people desired or what people foresaw. And so it starts from there and then proceeds to the next electoral cycle, and we can hardly hold them accountable. But even those that you would want to hold accountable because of the question of resources, but also poverty in the community, which seems to be thriving, is taken advantage of. For me, and probably as I conclude, I want to call on Ugandans to take interest on matters of their governance. I think that the continued reliance on the leaders seems not to be working, and I think that as Ugandans, you ought to step up, ask more, question more, and ask for better. I think that there's more now that is expected of us. Thank you.
All right, I have 2 comments, and I will use them to close this discussion. Good evening, Spectrum. Thanks for the show. My comments: the issue of the speakership. We have seen PLU's withdraw of support from candidate AAA, painting a picture PLU is the determining factor for that function, which isn't the case. Supposing Museveni appoints AAA, what then will be their position? That's Kamugo Fred Keta in Kira municipality. They actually said they will support the person that is chosen by President Yoweri Museveni. Democracy is the pathway for the death of governance in LDCs.
Chosen.
Meritocracy would perhaps be a better option. Otherwise, it's about the high bidder taking the day from coolest poor majority. Then lastly, we have a comment coming in from Emmanuel, who says, I think this is all reflection of the quality of the MPs, which has deteriorated badly. From the history of speakership from colonial masters, it was a position of no campaigns, no lobbying, but somebody would be dragged by surprise depending on the details from the person proposing the candidate. Also, they need to vet those people from where they worked before. People don't get corrupt abruptly. They do background checks, and you will get shocked. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming to Spectrum today. Tomorrow, same time, another topic will be on air. I would like also to thank you, the listener, for tuning in but contributing to this discussion. Stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90.